The museum is closed. The doors are locked. The echoes of the day drained from the halls. Only a thin, indifferent light remains, barely touching the walls. Paintings stand where they always have, suspended in silence, waiting. At night, they feel different, less like objects, more like presences. Some of them seem to withdraw into the darkness. Others feel awake, and a few, only a few, feel as though they are watching, patient, unblinking, waiting for the moment when someone stands alone long enough to truly see them. Some images were never meant to be glanced at. They demand time, they demand stillness, and sometimes they demand something back. The darkness ahead is thick, swallowing the edges of the frame. At first, nothing makes sense. Then a shape begins to surface. A body crouched low, twisted inward, as if collapsing under its own weight. The figure is massive, yet unstable, hunched forward like an animal caught mid-feeding. Long tangled hair falls around a face that looks barely human anymore. The skin is pale, bruised with sickly browns and greys, stretched tightly over bone. The posture is tense, defensive, as though the figure expects interruption at any second. The eyes are wide, too wide. They stare outward, unfocused yet piercing, locked in an expression that hovers between terror and urgency. They do not look satisfied, they look panicked. The mouth is stretched open in a grotesque grimace, teeth sunk deep into flesh. Blood runs freely, bright and wet against the darkness, staining lips, chin, and hands. The hands are large, rough, almost claw-like. Fingers dig into a smaller body with desperate force, gripping as if afraid the thing being held might still escape. The body in those hands is incomplete, headless, limp, reduced to weight and meat. The limbs hang uselessly, pale against the consuming figure's darker tones. There is no resistance left. Whatever struggle once existed has already ended. The violence continues anyway. There is no ground beneath them, no horizon, no context, only blackness. A void that isolates the act from time, from place, from witnesses. This moment exists alone. Standing before it, something inside you recoils. Not just from the gore, but from the closeness of it. There is no heroic distance here, no mythic framing. The act feels private, unfiltered, like you've walked in on something you were never meant to see. Your body reacts before your mind does. Your breath shortens, your throat tightens. You become aware of your own pulse. The painting does not invite interpretation. It confronts you. The longer you remain, the more the image begins to press inward. Those eyes do not soften. They do not turn away. They seem to notice you. And in that moment, the fear shifts. This is no longer just about what is happening on the canvas. It is about what it awakens in you. Something ancient. Something you would rather believe no longer exists. The painting does not feel like a story. It feels like a mirror held at a dangerous angle. This image has a name. It is called Saturn Devouring His Son, and it was created by Francisco Goya. But this was not a work made for the world. It was not commissioned, not exhibited, not explained. Goya painted it directly onto the walls of his own home, the Quinta del Sordo, the House of the Deaf. By the time this image took shape, Goya was old, ill, isolated, and profoundly disillusioned. He had lost his hearing years earlier, sealing him inside a private silence. He had lived through war, political terror, executions, famine, and betrayal. The ideals he once believed in, reason, progress, enlightenment, had collapsed into brutality. Spain, at the time, was a country devouring itself. Foreign invasion, civil violence, religious fanaticism, and authoritarian power had turned neighbor against neighbor. Goya witnessed bodies hanging in public squares, mass graves, and cruelty performed not by monsters, but by ordinary men. He recorded these horrors obsessively, not to warn, not to protest, but to remember, and eventually to confess. The myth of Saturn was familiar long before Goya touched it, a god who eats his children to prevent them from overthrowing him. Earlier artists painted the scene with restraint, Saturn as a tragic figure, the children as symbols, time as an abstract force. Goya destroyed that distance. His Saturn is not divine, he is not composed, he is feral, driven by terror rather than strategy. This is not a god preserving power, this is a being losing control. What Goya painted was fear in its rawest form. The fear of being replaced, the fear of time, the fear of death. Saturn does not look victorious. He looks desperate. He is devouring not out of cruelty, but panic. And that is what makes the image unbearable. Because panic is human. Panic is recognizable. Panic lives close to the surface. In this painting, power does not appear majestic. It appears unstable. Authority becomes consumption. Time becomes violence. The future is destroyed by those who fear it most. And beneath it all, there is guilt. Too late to stop the act, too present to ignore it. Saturn's eyes seem to understand what he is doing even as he continues. There is awareness without restraint, consciousness without mercy. Goya was not illustrating mythology. He was externalizing something internal, a vision shaped by isolation, trauma, and the slow erosion of hope. The walls of his home became a place where he no longer had to lie. These paintings, later called the Black Paintings, were never meant to be seen by anyone else. They were not art in the traditional sense. They were psychological residues, images that surfaced when there was no longer any reason to pretend. The darkness surrounding Saturn is not emptiness, it is enclosure. There is no escape from this act, no before or after. Just the moment itself, stretched endlessly. This is what makes the painting timeless. It is not about ancient gods. It is about what happens when fear overrides restraint, when survival consumes morality, when love turns inward and destroys what it created. As you stand there, the image does not resolve. It does not explain itself. It does not offer distance or relief. It simply remains. And the longer it remains, the clearer something becomes. This painting is not asking to be understood. It is asking whether you recognize it. And once that question takes hold, it does not let go. The longer this image stays with you, the more it stops belonging to its time. It slips free of history and settles somewhere closer. Saturn's terror no longer feels ancient. It feels familiar. The fear in his eyes is not the fear of a god losing a throne. It is the fear of an organism realizing that time is moving forward without permission. That decay is inevitable. That nothing it consumes will ever truly satisfy the panic driving it. This is where the painting begins to change. At first, you see violence, then madness, but slowly, something more uncomfortable emerges. Saturn is not just destroying his son, he is attempting to stop time itself. Each bite is a denial. Each tear of flesh is a refusal to accept succession, aging, mortality. The child is not merely a victim, he is the future, and the future is intolerable to those who cannot control it. Goya understood this instinct intimately. By the time he painted this image, his own body was betraying him. His hearing was gone, his health was failing. His mind, sharp and observant, was trapped inside a decaying vessel. Around him, younger men rose to power. Regimes changed, ideals shifted. The world moved forward without asking whether he was ready. And in that movement, something inside him turned dark. The House of the Deaf was not just a home. It was a retreat from a world Goya no longer trusted. Inside its walls, he painted images that felt closer to hallucinations than compositions. There was no audience to impress, no patron to satisfy, only silence, memory, and the relentless pressure of thought. Saturn was not painted to be seen, he was painted to exist. And that matters, because when art is stripped of intention to persuade or beautify, what remains is often something closer to the truth, not moral truth, psychological truth, the kind that makes no attempt to justify itself, the kind that simply emerges. This painting speaks to something deeply human and deeply denied, the urge to consume what threatens us, not only physically, but emotionally, socially, historically. Parents who crush their children's potential out of fear of irrelevance, leaders who sacrifice generations to preserve control, institutions that destroy the very people they were built to protect. Saturn lives everywhere. Power is afraid of losing itself. But there is another layer, quieter and more personal. Look again at Saturn's eyes. They are not focused on the body he holds. They are looking outward, past the act, past the victim. They look like the eyes of someone who has already crossed the line and knows there is no return. This is not anticipation, it is realization. And realization is often more terrifying than ignorance. Goya was painting after the collapse of certainty, after faith in reason failed him, after witnessing humanity behave no better than the monsters it claimed to fear. The Enlightenment promised order. What followed was blood. Revolution promised freedom. What followed was terror. Saturn becomes the embodiment of that betrayal. The idea that progress itself might consume its own children. The absence of setting in the painting becomes crucial here. There is no throne, no crown, no celestial markers. Saturn is not framed as a ruler. He is framed as an isolated being trapped with his fear. Power has stripped itself of ceremony and revealed its true nature. Alone, hungry, terrified, and then there is the child. Often overlooked because of the brutality inflicted upon it. The child has no face, no voice, no identity. It is pure vulnerability, pure future, pure potential extinguished before it can resist. Goya does not allow you to connect emotionally with the victim in a conventional way. There is no pleading expression to soften the horror. The body is already objectified, already consumed, which is exactly the point. Violence, Goya suggests, does not wait for permission. It does not require hatred, only fear. Fear of replacement, fear of being forgotten, fear of becoming irrelevant in a world that never stops moving. This is why the painting feels so modern. It does not rely on religious symbolism to frighten you. It relies on recognition. You recognize the panic. You recognize the desperation. You recognize the way fear can turn love into control and control into destruction. Saturn does not hate his son. He fears him. And fear, unchecked, is more dangerous than hatred ever could be. Goya offers no moral framing. There is no punishment depicted, no divine consequence, no lesson neatly packaged. Saturn is not struck down. He is left exactly as he is, consuming, watching, trapped in an endless moment of his own making. That is the true punishment, to be ruled forever by the thing you tried to escape. As the years passed, these paintings were eventually removed from Goya's walls and transferred to canvas, preserved, studied, displayed. But something was lost in that transition. They were never meant to leave the darkness they were born in. They were never meant to be safely contextualized behind museum placards. They were meant to exist in silence, in isolation, in proximity to a mind unraveling. And yet, here you are, standing before it, feeling its weight. Perhaps that is why it still works. Because despite centuries of distance, despite explanations and art history and myth, the image still bypasses all of it. It reaches directly into something unspoken, something uncomfortable, something that prefers to remain unnamed. This painting does not end when you stop looking at it. It follows you, in moments when power feels threatened, in moments when fear tempts control, in moments when the future feels like an enemy instead of a continuation. Saturn remains crouched in the dark, still eating, still afraid, still staring outward with eyes that seem to ask a question they never wanted answered. Not whether time will pass, but whether, when it does, you will try to stop it or accept what it takes with it. And that question lingers long after the museum lights go out.